So today will be fun, lots of information and mostly me talking. Bootstrap, yeah, what is Bootstrap? Let's go to the website first. So it's, when you open the browser, www.getbootstrap.com. So this is where you get all your information. If you're stuck with something, code snippets, explanation how stuff is working, so everything is there. I have a Bootstrap 3 book given to you guys with the downloaded files. This is the older version of Bootstrap that also supported old Internet Explorer. Bootstrap 4 did not support all old Internet Explorers. And there is already Bootstrap 5 out, but not really with a production release stable version. So I'm not dipping my toes into that. But you will see, especially if you read the number 3 book that I gave you, and you compare it with the number 4 here, that it's very similar, all the ideas. Some class names change and stuff, but it's not big shocker. Hello. So we are on getbootstrap.com on the website. And this is where you get all your information. So if you need an older version or the newer version, up here, the little drop down, you can switch versions. But the most important one is here, documentation. And this is where you get all your information for Bootstrap. There is so much more information that you need because we're not doing real development. We're not using NPM, Bower, and all these other frameworks that use that to make real production websites. This is the big introduction. So Bootstrap needs a couple of things in the browser. And the first thing is that here, the CSS part that goes under after the title. And if you're using a CDN network, so a content delivery network, where you don't have to download your version of Bootstrap and link to it, you just copy that link and put it in your HTML file. And the same, sorry, the same with the 3 JavaScript files. These 3 files go at the bottom of your HTML file. So here's a starter template. So another one you have to have is this one meta tag viewport that checks for the orientation, especially for cell phones. Then you have the CSS link. And then just before the closing of the body tag, you have the 3 JavaScript ones, which jQuery has to be first, then Popper.js, and then Bootstrap.js. Otherwise, they're not working. That is what you have to have. I have in our little files here that I prevented, I have downloaded an older Bootstrap version. So this is 4.2.1. And if we look at the website, they're going with 4.5.2. So I think 4.5.2 is the last one of version 4 coming, and then the switch over to Bootstrap 5. But I presented you with the CSS file, and you see the little lock button here. That means it's a locked version, so we cannot go in and change stuff in there, and we shouldn't, because we can always overrule it with our written CSS. But you should pretty much understand everything that's in here. It is nicely written 10,000 lines of CSS for you to use. So you have to write a lot less CSS to make it look pretty and functional. That is for the CSS, and for the JavaScript, I exactly have the other 3 files here for our project. If you use exactly the code I have in the project, sometimes I think with a carousel, there was a little problem with the new version of Bootstrap because they updated 1 or 2 class names and they're little written different. But you can always go here and then get the code snippet and then compare to what you had and just change that one. If you run, so if you use the CDN links, for example, I would go with the code snippets from here if you drag and drop them into your project as a tip. Bootstrap, what is it for? Bootstrap is a framework that has CSS and JavaScript written for you to help you make websites nice, quick and easy and fast. It only has one drawback. You have to learn some of the class names and you have to write HTML sometimes in a specific way in order to make it work. Usually it's pretty easy. If you get the gist behind it, it's pretty easy, but some stuff I have to look up every time too, because it gets really complicated. What is nested in which other div, and there's another div as a container around then that's nested in something else in order to make all the JavaScript and CSS work proper for that. That's pretty much all here from the beginning. It's Bootstrap 5, you need the meta tag we said. Some stuff is here, like here, for example, box sizing. Remember we talked about box sizing in the beginning, like I think second or third class. Bootstrap starts with box sizing of border box. If in the rare case you need it the other way around, you have to write your own CSS to reverse that. Yeah, for everything. If you're ever in doubt or something, come here, look at layout, content, component, utilities, and it's usually everything we're talking about is in there. Probably better written than I'm speaking English, but if you have to look something up. Bootstrap, let's start here with the layout. I'll show you guys that here. Bootstrap is built mobile first. That means if you don't put anything else in there, it always is designed for cell phone. And if you want to change your design for bigger screens, you have to add another class or something for it. And if you change something, it always, the changes swim up. So up the screen size. So if you change, so we have here the 5 different screen sizes: extra small, where you have to say nothing to keep it that way; small, medium, large, and extra large. So if I make a change here on medium, let's say I want to have the columns in 3 columns instead of 2 or something, then by default, large and extra large will have this change as well. So if I want to change it then again on a bigger screen, I have to overrule the change I did. Makes more sense in a minute. Yeah, the basic 3 things for the layout are containers, rows, and columns. Containers, there are 2 different kinds of containers: regular ones and fluid ones. Fluid ones always spread the full width of the screen, and the regular container ones never spread the whole width, and they have these points, like with media queries, where if you go smaller or bigger, and suddenly it changes its layout. And with that, let's start with our examples, because it makes more sense if you see them. So let's go into our files that I give you, and under number 1, Bootstrap Grid. And let's start with container. Start. Okay, so don't want you to be up there. Here. So if we look at our code, everything should make sense here in the head. I just have this extra attribute here at the HTML that gives you a language for all the crawlers that go to the internet, and for the screen readers, when they go on the page, they see it's that the language in there is English, which this is kind of Latin, but it's meant to be English. And there are other dialect subtypes and stuff. You have to look it up if you do something else than regular English. There are different abbreviations for everything. Then I always have this meta tag in here too, that looks for Internet Explorer and Edge and says that we understand old Internet Explorer as well. Then here is the Viewport one that I told you, that is especially for cell phones, that the big website is not just shrunken down to a cell phone, and then you have to zoom in to read what's actually on the page, so that it's not zooming out, so that the whole page fits there if something is wrong or something. So it gets the device width from the browser window, so on the cell phone, the display, and then with that applies the proper CSS to it from the beginning. Then here we have the link to our Bootstrap CSS file, and then I have a link to our external extra CSS file that I wrote for all the other stuff to make it pretty. Then regular body, and in here I have these two paragraphs in different divs. And then here in the body, we have the query script, the popper, the bootstrap, and then even my own JavaScript in here, which I have to look up what I wrote in here. There's nothing in there. Okay. But I brought it in there. That's how it would look like if you have to add your own JavaScript, for example. So it would be on the bottom of the other three. Okay, then let's start doing it. So if we go here to our content, I gave you a div with nothing else in it. And just to make containers, you will see Bootstrap is very div heavy. So get comfortable with applying classes this way. So it's a div. Let's apply a class here. So class and a class of container. Okay, and immediately you see that the content is centered in the middle, and you have this little spacing left and right. And if we resize, you see it gets closer and closer to the edge till we get to the next viewport breakpoint. And where's it here? And then you see that the text started shrinking a little more, the whole container, and with that the text. And then the next one and the next one. And when you come to cell phone size, it's full width. Okay. And let's do the same with the second one, but there we use the fluid container. So class container fluid. And here you see we got a little spacing to the left and right. So like, what is it, 15 pixels. And that makes it easier to read on cell phones, because it's really hard to read when the font is really touching the edge of the browser window. So you get this 15 pixels of padding on the side, left and right side. And you see, if you go bigger and smaller, this one is always touching the left and right side of the browser window, where this one always jumps to the different screen sizes step by step. Usually I use the container fluid if I have, for example, a background image that I always want to have a full width. And for content, I use the regular container. Okay. Then let's uncomment that one here. So here we have a header with a div, and in there we have a little headline. And yeah. So these are the containers. So, and inside containers, you're putting rows. So if you group then content together inside, you're using rows, and within rows, then you have columns. And it does not make sense to use rows alone or columns alone, because these two are going together. As we saw here with the container, we got 15 pixel padding left and right. And if you apply a container class, this takes these 15 pixels away again. And then with every column inside, you're getting them back. So if you're just using a container with a row, you're touching the walls of your browser window. So you always go together, rows and containers, rows and columns. So let's create in here a div with the class of row. Okay. So, and then I just break that one here in apart. So that we have two paragraphs. So, and then here inside that you would put another div with the class of column. So COL. And then another div with the class of column. So, and then these two paragraphs are split nicely equal next to each other. Make that look better. And as you see, as you see here with these three, while I told you guys always comment your closing divs, we're getting more of these in a row. So if you have something long, it really is nice if you have here Closing row, for example. And something like this. So if you have more of these elements, it really helps you if you have it nicely structured. Even if you Dreamweaver tries to highlight that for you, but for the human eye, it's nicer if you know what you're looking at immediately. So with the introduction of columns, I have to tell you that Bootstrap is based on a 12-column grid system. So let me show you guys that on the website. Where's that here? No, the grid. Okay, so Bootstrap. Where's a nice example? Yeah. So that you believe me here, number of columns 12. Bootstrap is built with, as soon as you put a row in there, you get this 12-column grid layout. Yes. Okay. As soon as you have a row, you get this 12-column grid layout. And if you not specify the amount of columns you want to take, like we did with our example, I just said cols, C-O-L, then Dreamweaver takes how many elements are in that row and then tries to split it up equally among the items in there. So we had 2 paragraphs with a div for column around them, and that's why they got split in half. Everyone got 6 grid columns. 6 for the first one and 6 for the other ones. So if I would give, for example, that one 7, then this one only got 5. But if I give that one 6 as well, you see what happens. It's 6 and 7 is more than 12, and as soon as I extend the 12 grid columns, it gets thrown in the next row. Okay. So Dreamweaver is Bootstrap is trying to help you guys on that one. And you can then later specify how many grid columns an element should take on the cell phone size, the small screen size, the medium size, the large, and the extra large. So you can really play with your layouts with the columns on different screen sizes, just with applying another class here. Yeah, like here, if you have 2 elements and we just say call, we get it split in half, so everyone gets 6 grid columns. If I have 3 elements, everyone gets just 4 grid columns, and so on and so on. And if I want to specify a specific width, for example, I have dash and the number for it to tell how much columns it should take. That cool for everyone. I see question marks in every face. Okay. So the important, but the real important thing from today is that I want you guys to remember containers, rows, columns, and what to put in the header and at the bottom of the HTML file to make it work. Okay. This, I showed you guys this, and let's preview that here too. So if I want to change my layout, for example, for different screen size, column, then the screen size, medium, and then I want to have that one only 3 wide, and that one on medium, then 9. So, and nice, column 6. And so if you apply any other class to it, you have to specify the first one too. You cannot just leave it on auto. And just give it another one, SM. So we just see what you can do quickly with applying 2 other classes. So for cell phone, we have these 2 paragraphs stacked on top of each other. As soon as I go to the small screen size, I have them next to each other with everyone taking half of the screen. And if I get bigger, then I have this 3 to 9 grid layout. And as you see, the bigger it gets, it doesn't change anymore. As I said, it swims upwards. Then something else that I want to highlight quick. Let's give that one here also a 6. So now we have 3 and 6. So this one is 3 columns wide, this one is 6 columns wide, and I want to move the first column in, or the second, the first column in, or the second more to the right. I can offset them. And let's put the next class here. So call hyphen, actually offset hyphen. Then for which screen size, let's do medium here. And how much I want to offset this. 6 is 9 is 1. Now you see that we have we moved the whole thing 1 columns to the right. And that is only happening when we're bigger than the small and the extra small size. See, there is no extra space here. As soon as I get bigger, I get this extra. And I can give the second one something as well. So 6, 9, 10, 2. And then I have this aligned, kind of centered here, and that one right aligned. That's easier than writing all your CSS yourself, or because you just have to remember the class names for that. They don't change. So you also can nest rows and columns in rows and columns. Nested. Let's open that one. So here I have a very nice example of my face on Monday morning. Heading 3 for Monday, and the paragraph for the text. And everything is inside an article. And then I even have a second article here that's empty section, and the div. And the The div is where I put the container there, and in the section I put the class of row there. So this is one row, and this article with the face in it is only 8 columns wide, and the second one is 4 columns wide. So this is the empty space here. So in the empty one here, we could put a div with the class of row again. So now we are inside that row with 2 columns. And in that column, we have now a new row in there with another 12 grid layout just in that place. So, and in there, let's place a div with a class of columns for small 4. Okay. And in there, let's put an image. Okay, and I put also a class of image fluid here that makes the image never expand the box it's in there. It's a special class for images. Which image are we using? Images. Let's pick a flower. Okay, so now in here we see we have a row, and for the 4 grids that I have here, just the space where I can do then something with the remaining 6 grid columns. Or actually, let's copy that 3 times so we don't have to type too much. So, and we see that this has the full 12 grids in here. Then if you see that every grid has a little space to the left and right, the 15 pixels again that I talked earlier, so which is a space of 30 pixels in the middle between 2 columns. And I can take that out with applying another class, this time to the row. So, and that class is no-gutters. And voila, the space between is gone. And let's change that one here. So if we do 2, you see that 2, 4, 6, it's half of the space available. And then you can play with all your designs, how you want to put them there. Good so far. Okay, I take that as a yes. Then you can play around with orders as well. So let's open the order one, the order file. And here you see the little CSS I wrote for the images is these faces are SVGs, and if you don't give them a width and the height, they just expand the full width of the page. So I'm just limiting them how big they're allowed to get. And in here we have a div with the class of container. Then we have a section that gets the row here again. And this time I added another class here. Text center is the same like we did by hand when we went to one element and text align center in CSS. This is for us. We just have to apply the class of text-center, which centers the text inside everywhere. Then in here we have 3 articles, and everyone has an image, a heading, and a paragraph. The image, heading, paragraph. And Monday comes first, then it's Tuesday, and then there's Wednesday, like in order, like it should be. And I can change around the order. So with just applying another class, but if I'm applying the order class, I have to apply it to all elements in that row. So it does not work if I only apply it to one. Okay, so the next class is order, and then I can say where it should be. So let's put Monday at the end of our example, so 3. And then let's give the other one Tuesday order 1, and then Wednesday order of 2. So now we have reordered this, and then you can also reorder all of them for different screen sizes. So see where I'm going. It's all is then built up so you can change it for every screen size individually. So let's medium. MD for medium. So, and if I'm getting smaller, I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and as soon as I get bigger, I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday. And then I could change it another way around for next bigger screen size. Everyone cool? Okay. So as I said, you just have to remember class names, pretty much. There is also, we talked in the HTML part about flex and grid, and Bootstrap is also very good with flex, not so much with grid, but that's coming with Bootstrap 5. So there are also classes for flex. So we could give the first article here another class of D for display. And then you see here we have block, flex, inline block, large block, and so on. What we are interested is flex. So D hyphen flex. And assume this is flex styled, where it is, instead of on top of each other, it's next to each other. So first this, then the headline, then the paragraph, instead of image, headline, paragraph. So you can play around with all these extra things. And you can even style order stuff in here as well. So just here, if I give the headline here a class of order 3, you see it's immediately, it's at the end. I can make all crazy design changes just with applying different classes for different screen sizes. Questions so far? No. I have to let you guys repeat what I said. Okay. Then let's go on with the next example. Grid alignment. Do I have extra grid alignment? No. Let's keep the order one open. So, where we have our 3 nice days. Grid alignment. Oh, we have. Let's open vertical alignment, not order. Okay. Still the same 3 guys, just I have some other things here to play around. So for our CSS, I just have these sections big enough so we have something to play with. I have the text align center again, and I limited the images to a certain size. For the HTML part, we still have the div with the class of container for our frame around, then a section with a class of row, and then for every section here, I have a different background color. So BG for background, hyphen, and info is the light blue color here. If we go down here, that is success, it's that color. And then down here, that is warning. Oh, where is it? Here, warning. So Bootstrap comes with a handful of colors, default, primary, success, warning, danger, info. Yeah, these are the colors you just can apply with classes. They're coming a little more colors with every version of Bootstrap, but these are the primary colors. And they have meaning behind it. So if you go for success, it's the green color. So you should put that, for example, on a button or something where you finish something. Then on the button where you get other info, you would do an info color on the button. They have this light blue color for information, and then you have dark blue color, or for warning and danger, the yellow, orange, and the red. So they kind of planned it out this way. So in here, where we had the section with the row and the different background colors, and then we have our articles again with the images, the headings, and the paragraphs. So let's do some alignment here. So for the first block here with the background color of info, the section with a class of row, let's add another class here. And this one is align hyphen and items hyphen, and then I could say, for example, and then they're all at the bottom. I could also say center, then they're in the middle. It's more fun, right, than centering all by hand. just for a tip for future, if you have these elements and you have, for example, centered or on top, you will see that here I have 3 lines and here I have 4 lines. If I would then have something floating up again, pre-prepared, that it can get stuck a little bit up and it's not behaving like you think it should do. Because, for example, that box is 1 pixel higher than the other ones. And then the next floating object would get stuck on that corner here. So, and also if you have more text, you see that Tuesday is a little higher than Monday. So they're all perfectly centered with themselves, not with the outside box where everything. You only get that if you have them start, so at the top, where then all start at the same point on top, or end, where then all end at the bottom line. So but in order to make them really nicely centered, so that it makes more sense that, for example, the headlines are not off by a few pixels, you have to play with a row inside a row. So you just have to add here, for example, first we have to make a div with a class of column and put everything in here. Okay. And then we have to add another div with a class of row. And put that in here. And now the elements are at the same height, but the whole row is centered within the blue box. You guys get the difference there? It's kind of like before we were centering every one of these articles itself, and now we put all the articles inside a row and centered the row within the other block. Yes. Okay. Then let's go to the next, to the green section. So here we have the section and then articles again. And let's add something to the article. So another class here. And this class is align self sent, or let's start with end. So we saw that Monday jumped down to the bottom. The other ones are still on top. Then we could give the other one a self align, other way around, align self center, and top one is default. So we could build something like this, where we align items within another element different ways. And then let's go to the last one where we have Thursday and Friday. So we only have two articles in here with 4 grid columns. And we could give the row here another class to align our elements different. And this could be justify content. And let's say end for the beginning. And with that, I would align my content to the right. If I have justify content start, it's the default one. I can also use justify content center. Writing. That would center it. And there are 2 other options we have. Instead of center, we can also say around. Now we take the whole width and we divide the space by 2. And then within that, we put the 2 articles inside that, centered inside this. So we have, like with the grid columns, we have a little bit, half of the center margin here. We have on the left side and on the right side, and in the center we have the small one from that side and the small one from that side. But be aware, there's something else. We could see between. Okay, and now the extra space is just pushed between these 2. So the first element would be completely to the left, the second one completely to the right, and all the remaining spaces in the middle. So it depends what you're trying to achieve. You would use around or between or center or nothing or end. Good. Okay. Feel like I'm going way too fast with you guys again. Let's do position and display. Display properties. Okay, here we have a little navigation that doesn't look really nice. Then a main content part for Austria, and then every district of Austria gets his own box with a little paragraph. So here we have the container, and then inside we have this div here with just the background here, which is actually the blue, the info background. And in there we have these 3 navigation items. And then our paragraphs. And then here we have the articles with the heading and the paragraph. Now let's play around with it a little bit. So let's go to the div with the background color of info. So, which is this here, which is just our navigation in the page, and add another class. Let's say fixed bottom, and voila, we have our navigation fixed to the bottom. So when I'm scrolling, it will not move. But we have a little problem. As soon as I apply the fixed bottom, this box gets out of the container that we're in here. So we have to then fix that, okay, with our own CSS. Another way we can fix something is instead of bottom, you will guess it's top. And it's fixed on top. And if you scroll, But you see another problem here is the heading 2 of Austria is missing, and I think the first sentence also. This is now under our navigation. So if we apply the fixed top or bottom, our navigation gets one level higher than the other page, and with that the other page swims under that layer. So we would have to apply extra padding for that part here, for example. If I make a CSS rule that gives all the space up here for the first element, I can bring it down below the navigation. Then another one is, instead of fixed top, we can have sticky top. Oops. No. Sticky top. And now the navigation stays up there till it gets out of the container. I have another example I accidentally showed you last time. So let me quick find it. Yeah. Here. So these headings are done with sticky. Let me open that in Dreamweaver for you too, so you know what we're talking. So here. Okay, so here we have a container so that we're not touching the walls. Then we have sections, and inside the sections the heading is with the class of sticky top. So as long as that paragraph text runs under it, the heading stays, and then as soon as the last text part of the paragraph gets out of the view and the heading with the class of sticky top hits the bottom of the section tag it's in, it scrolls out with the closing section and then the next one. So like here you see the heading and the paragraph, and this is the one section. And when I start scrolling, the heading stays till it touches the closing tag of the section, and then it goes and disappears with the whole section. And then the same for the second one, and the third one, and so on. If you have more content, you see the difference. You might have seen that somewhere before. That's with sticky, position sticky. Okay. Where are we here? Sticky. Okay. Let's go away from that example. So here, let's go and leave the sticky top away. So now we're having our Austria and everything back, how it should be. And then here, let's add another display type of display block. So d-block. So this always is displayed as a full block element, and which is the default. And I can also, with display inline, for example, change. And now this is an inline element where the whole div is not the block element anymore. So remember, the block element always spans the whole width of the container it's in. So here is a block. It's the default again. So let's put it back to inline. And then let's put a class of display inline also to the 3 elements. And now they're inline to each other. So it's another way to make a menu, cheap menu. And where there's inline, there's also inline block. Inline hyphen block. Where then also get the width and the height. So, and you can also achieve the same thing with flex. So here. So here, let's do d hyphen flex. So now you have everything flexed there. And then you can also change the styles around if you want to do with different flex properties. And you can even change that also with different screen sizes, like display large to say something different. And then let's do inline flex. So when we're really big, we're not spreading the whole container out. And if we're getting smaller, we're getting the blue background box back. This is how you can play around with these screen size settings. Okay, questions? I love when everyone talks. Okay, I think I have tortured you enough with different flex and regular and grids and columns and rows and containers. So let's go to a little bit of typography. So for that, let's open number 2, styling elements and typography. And was I naughty? No. Okay, so here we have just headline paragraphs, all inside with a class of container. So we have our spacing, and then we have sections, and we have a heading 1 paragraph, heading 2 paragraph, heading 3 paragraph, 5, 4, 6, and then we're at the bottom. So yeah, as you guys all remember, headings, for example, are block elements. So if I have a heading, the paragraph does not automatically flow up right next to the heading, because the heading spans the whole width, right? I can change that very easy with Bootstrap. So I just go to the heading, for example, apply another class of, for example, inline. If I want to make a fake heading 1, something that looks like a heading 1, I can use any other element, like here, span, for example. Let's just go here till bacon, close the span. And I can give this a class of inline heading. or just heading 1. Okay, AH1. So a class of heading 1, and then it has the same style that the regular heading 1, but it's inline. So I can play with that to make it look like a heading 1, but it's just a regular paragraph text. Okay. Then I also can use another HTML tag, and it's called small. Okay, so that one word is a little smaller. I can also use that within headings and fake headings. If I want to make something really big, let's go here with the span again. Okay, I can give a class of display, and display1 being not really too much bigger, but then I can go 2. Here. Display1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is when I make a very loud heading. For example, if I have a lot of empty space and I want to make a very loud statement, I can use a element and apply a class of display1 to it, or 2, depending on the spaces available. And then I can make something really stand out. Shouldn't be used too much. Only for like a pop to catch your eye, and then a lot of white space around it, so empty space. It's really the best friend of a web designer is empty space. So then you can also use lead text. Yeah, here you see that it is a little bigger than the normal text. Also because I just used it on a regular paragraph. So if you use it on a heading, it always gets appropriate to the size of the element it's in. But it is a tiny bit bigger and clearer than the regular font in Bootstrap. Then what other text elements we have? Let's go to the next one, the growing. You may have seen that somewhere when they use a class of text-justify, where the Bootstrap tries to spread out the content to fill the whole line. Like you see that the first line is filled exactly to the end, and sometimes you have 2 spaces or not quite double space, but 1 point something of the regular space bar or space. So it just gets stretched out to fill the whole width of the element. You can also use text no wrap. And then I don't know when you ever would use that, but then you get no stop at the end, just extends out. And then of course you can justify text left and right also according to screen sizes. Like for example, text and then hyphen, the screen size, let's say large, hyphen, and then we want to have it left, right, or center. Left is default, so let's use right. So this text is now right aligned, and if I go small enough, chuck, it's left aligned. Then let's go here to the next one. To apply class. Font weight. So font italic, font weight bold, font weight bolder. It's all there. You don't have to write the CSS rule for it. It's a class you have to apply. So bold, bolder, normal. It's all there. Or even font italic. It's just a class away. Okay, then let's come to colors. We have spoken a little bit about colors. You can have text and background colors. They are technically the same color, but not 100%. Because for the background colors, Bootstrap adjusts the colors a little bit in order to make it easier to read. So for readability reasons. So that's why they sometimes look a little bit off to each other. So let's apply some classes here. Class for text, hyphen, and then a color. Let's do warning. And we have the orange. If we see danger, we have the red. Success. Primary. You guys get the idea. Next, with the buttons, we have really nice examples for you guys to keep. And let's do this one here in number 5. Let's do class with background colors. So instead of text, we use BG for background, danger, or success, warning. So that's how easy you change to the primary colors. So now with Bootstrap 4, I saw that we even have more colors: dark, light, secondary, transparent, white. Yeah. So with dark, then you would say text light. And you would have been done with having a nice background and the font still readable. Questions to that? Okay. Then let's go to something fun. Let's use images. And please stop me when I'm too fast. So here, what are we having here? Huh. Yeah, this is the house I lived 25 years. So we have here a heading 2 at the top of hometown. And then we have a figure. So figure, remember that we use that if we have an image and want to put a caption somewhere to the image. So we use the figure. And then we have the image. and then the fig caption for the text underneath the image. The same for the next one, like where I grew up, and then, yeah, these are the two. Okay, but you guys see the images are way too big and really not nice for our visitors of the page. So Bootstrap gives us a couple of classes for images as well. So we just apply another class to the image. Okay. If we want to have the image never been too big, then we say img fluid. And the image, let's do that to the second one as well. So, and we lost our horizontal scroll bar. So now our images are not too big anymore. And even if I resize it, they're still not getting too big. So they're always trying to resize themselves to fit into the space given. Then we also have some additional classes we can give images. One class is rounded, for example. And I'm not sure we see that one here. Yeah, if you look very exactly in the corner, you see that it's a tiny bit rounded, so you don't have the pointy edges. Let me guys show you that here. Way nicer. Where is it? Here. So to images and other, you can give a class of rounded. Then you see here a tiny bit of rounded corners for them. Then you can also say you only want to have the rounded corners on the top, or only on the bottom, or only left, or only right. You can see that's all possible here. If you say rounded circle, you get a really nice circle. Pill is new for me, so they have added that shortly after I put my class together. So you get this pill layout, or if you, for example, somehow get an image imported from another website to display on your site, and it happens that they have rounded corners, but you don't want to have them, you just put a rounded 0 there, and then it takes the roundness from the other image away. Okay. Let's put here circle, rounded circle. And if it's not square, you don't get a circle, you get an ellipse. Okay. Let's make it a little smaller. Okay, for display purposes. And I can give it a float as well. So float, left doesn't make sense because this is default. Float hyphen right, and it floats to the right. or as I said, left. And I have it back in there. Like floats should work. Okay. Then let's take that text here. I can apply a class and say text center. And then our text is centered. As I showed before, you can do left or right. Like you want to have everything. So then let's make that one a little smaller again. Okay. Oh, it's this time the other one. Okay. So we, okay. So we can also give it a class of display block, which it is by default. Well, actually not. Images are inline elements. So we can make it block. And then, for example, if I want to center the image on the page, there is a nice class, and it's called mx-auto. So M for margin, X for the x-axis, so horizontal. And then if I say auto, it centers it. That's how you would center other elements with just a class. You can also only specify the y-axis with my, and however you want to do that there. Okay. Any questions on this?
Yes.
Yes.
An actual question. What did you say the MX stands for right before the auto?
M is for margin.
Okay.
X is for the x-axis. So, and then auto is for take the space that's left and divide it on the left and right side equally.
Gotcha.
Okay. There are a couple of these shorthand classes. We saw D for display. We saw now M for margin. And there's also P for padding. And by default, Bootstrap took all their top margins and paddings out, and only left the bottom margins in there. So you don't have to worry about collapsing margins anymore with Bootstrap. But if you want to have something like, for example, here the fig caption, I could make a margin -5, I think is the short one. Yeah. So I get 5 of whatever it is calculating from margin to the top. So M-5. And then I can, as you see here, I can specify it also with different screen sizes for different spaces. And the same, so I can also, but this is now top and bottom. So I can say margin top, then it's only the top, or just margin bottom, it's only the bottom, or only left, or only right. Is it margin left? Yeah. Margin right. You see, you can play with that. And the default goes from 1 till 5. So there's no 6 or bigger. So that's all so far from that file. Let's go to the buttons. Okay. So here I gave you some examples of buttons, links, buttons, and inputs. Inputs we saw from the form, buttons and links. And then the colors, I can do it, or if I just want to outline them, different sizes, different states, and we can group buttons. So, and everything is in the container and the row. So we're getting used to that for the different types. So we have in links, an anchor tag, a button, and an input field, and I can all make them look the same. So for buttons, we just apply a class, and the class for buttons is btn, and voila, it gets the padding and margin. So let's put that one here everywhere. So whenever you have a button, you should apply the class of button to that element, btn, to get the spacing right then later. And then if you do something else with the button, you apply another class. So here, for example, btn hyphen success. Okay, voila, we have our success button and even the different color for the hover state. And if I take that and copy that to the other ones as well, they all look the same. So the user is not confronted with different looking buttons, links. So I can make all kind of unified looking and not breaking my layout design. Okay, so then for our classes here, we have the contextual classes. So let's apply all the colors to the buttons. Button, so then I'll look, and then btn hyphen, this is the first one, primary. Okay. And the second one is secondary. Success. Danger. Warning. Info. Light. And dark. So these are the colors that come with Bootstrap 4. And they might seem familiar to you from other websites, because Bootstrap is pretty much everywhere in the background. Everyone done with typing? No, okay. Well, we have time. We have an hour. It's easy to make buttons look nice, right? Everyone done? Okay, then let's go to the outline buttons. Same game. Button, and then btn hyphen outline hyphen, and then the color. Okay. And same game. And we have the lighter ones, the more modern ones. And also everywhere is the hover state already applied. Okay. Then we have different button sizes we can use. So here, let's make them the buttons class btn. Okay. And then btn hyphen, and let's start with the default. Okay. Or let's take the default away because it doesn't change anything. Then we can go LG for large, SM for small, and block. And let's give them a color as well so we can see them nicer. btn hyphen success. So we have our default size here. With LG, we can make them a little bit bigger. With SM, we can make them a little bit smaller. And when we say block, the button becomes a block element and spans the whole width it's given. Then we have different states. So we have active buttons. So class btn hyphen primary this time, and then we can say active, and you see it changed a little bit the color to darker, like the same color when you hover over it. Look exactly, this is a little lighter blue, and if I hover, I get the darker blue, and if I give active, it becomes the background, so the hover color. Then I also can disable buttons. Primary. And if I make them button, they look the same. And in order to disable them, I can give it a disable and disabled. And then it gets grayed out. And if I do the same to the link, it's also the same disabled. So I can do that to both. Then button groups. Okay. So here we have buttons, and I already applied the class of button and button primary to all of them to save us from that typing it over and over again. So we can put these together in button groups, vertical groups, or in toolbars. So let's do that. So in order to do that, we have to put a div around the different button groups. So div with a class of btn group. Okay. And as soon as I do that, you see that the space between them disappears and they're all grouped together. They don't have these round corners between them, only on the edge, and so on. So let's do the same thing here with the other one. Just so I don't have to type it again. Put them together. And let's put these ones as well. So we have these grouped together, this group together, and these grouped together. And if you use button groups, it's also nice to give something for the screen readers. And for that, wherever you put the button group in, you put an area tag. So area attribute, area hyphen. And then here we have a label. So we're labeling what's inside. And this one would be German cars, so that the screen readers would know that. For the second one, let's do the same. Area label. European bikes. And the same would be for the last one. Okay. But we can group these also even more together. So let's put here something else. Let's put another div with a class of button hyphen toolbar. Okay. And then you see that they're stacked immediately. And as it is with most of Bootstrap, we can make these button groups also bigger and smaller. Let's give that first button group here, btn-group large, and the second one, btn group small. Questions to buttons? Okay. Then we also have a file called badges. Let's open that one. Okay. And in order to make badges, you have to use this pen element. So let's pick a word in here. So let's put a span tag around. Okay. And then let's give that one a class. And let's call it badge. And as soon as it has a little different styling on there, let's give it a color too. So badge, color info. So you see the badge better, and you can also make it look a little different with another class of badge -pill. Then you get the rounded sides. That's all there is to badges, 3 classes. Okay, then let's go to margin and padding. Margin and padding. So here the styling is just to have some color in here. And here I have displayed them flex, so we can play a little bit with these. And other than that, I have nothing special on there. And now we can play a little bit with the margin and padding styles we talked about earlier. So you just go here and apply another class of MT for margin top hyphen, I don't know, 3, and voila, BMW has some margin up there. If I go to Audi, for example, I'll do a padding top of 3, you see the difference. That's the padding is inside and the margin is outside of the element. And instead of top, we can do B for bottom, or R for right, or L for left, or X for left and right, and Y for top and bottom. Yeah. You can also play with them with screen sizes as well. Just add the screen size in here between. Let's do small for that one and medium for that one. So here's nothing applied. Then zack, they all get MD. So nothing is, only the padding is applied here, and then here comes the margin as well. So whenever you have to style different spacings for different elements and different sizes. That's how it's done with Bootstrap. The sizes are in rems, so the 1 to 5. The 1 is a quarter rem, 2 is half a rem, 3 is 1 rem, 4 is 1.5, and 5 is 3 rems, if someone's interested. So we can also apply it wherever we want. Let's apply something here. Heading bottom 3, and we get the little extra red there, or 5. You can play around with it. It's always the same. By the way, for all the Bootstrap classes, I also gave you a extra file with it's called Bootstrap Classes. Come here, like this. Okay, you have that with your files. In there are all the main utility classes you should be using more than very, very seldom. So not permanently, but up and on. And they all are with the dot for the class, the first word to get it, so like text or font or image, and then a hyphen. If then the second position is in brackets, means it can be applied for screen sizes or not. And then the other one, like POS in the beginning, is for position, color is for colors, columns, order, alignment, type. If you have questions in how to read that one, just send me an email. I think I put that one together pretty readable. Okay. Let's torture you guys a little more. Let's open the borders or border file. And here we have some, why so slow? Well, some examples. I have just divs in a container, and all the divs have CSS-wise is just the width and the height and a little bit of background. So, and here we can apply some of the border rules. And as usually, it's just a class. So it's border hyphen. Then I can say the direction. Then I can say the color. And then I can say how much, or if I want to zero it out. So not how much, if I want to zero it out, if I get it somehow. So if I don't give a direction and I just say success, border, why? Oh, we have to use the border class as well. So border and then border color. So then you get the green border all around. If I say here danger, then we get the red one. If I say border of top only, and the color, border hyphen primary one. Is that yeah, okay? So you don't need the extra border for just the direction. Okay. So if I want to have it all around, I just say border. If I want to have it specified, I say border hyphen and what side I want to have. And for the color, I have to say border hyphen color. Or if I want to take everything out, like here on that one, I have to say border hyphen 0. And then I'm taking it out. Border hyphen left. Border hyphen secondary. And the same can be done with rounded. If I say rounded, it's hard to see, but you get these rounded corners here. And then if I want to say it only on one side, rounded left, then I'm only having the left, and on the right is the pointy one. Rounded circle, then we get the circle one. Or if we have rounded corners and I want to take them out, rounded 0. Yeah. Questions? Pretty easy if you get behind the system of naming the classes to achieve what you want to do. And as I said, you don't have to write all the CSS behind it. So let's go to lists and groups. Okay, let's start again. So we have the unordered list, a div list with anchor tags, and a div with buttons in there. And basically all work the same. They kind of look a little different now, but we're styling them with Bootstrap, and then kind of will look the same and work the same. So for the unordered list one, let's here add another class to the one I gave already. And this one is a list group, list hyphen group. And that one destroys our nice little design here. And then we have to apply to every list item a class of list group item. List group item. Okay. And we have a nice list group here. So we can then even style more. We can give one, for example, a class of active. And then it gets the primary color background. We can give one other one another class of list group item action, and this group item action, and that gives the hover effect on there. We can give them different colors. List, group, item, and then, for example, success, we get the green one, and so on and so on. So all the colors we have here. And we can do the same to the divs with the anchor tag. Just putting the same here. So list, group, and then this group item. And you see it looks the same. Only with the anchor tags, you already have the hover effect on it. And the same would be done for the buttons. This group. And buttons are centered, so the text on the buttons are centered by default. If you want to have the different, you would apply another class, text align left, right, and so on. So we can even put, let's do the first one here. We can even do badges in here. So let's put a little badge here. Span 12. And the class of badge. And then another class of badge. Let's do warning. So we have this little badge here. Usually you see them as badge pills. And maybe I want to do it then float to the right. So that's quick and easy, whatever you want to do with lists. Questions to that? No. Okay. Let's do the last one then for today, breadcrumbs. Everyone knows what breadcrumbs are? No. Simple example. For example, you go to Google, search for something, and you have these numbers down here. That is kind of like breadcrumbs, or if you have it on the website, let's go to mine. If you're here, and for example, you go deeper, you see that one's breadcrumbs too. So you see, if I want to go completely out or just one folder on the page back and where I am. So if you have a very deep website with lots of layers, then you can do that for the user if he doesn't just want to go back to the portfolio side and then back to the homepage side. You just can provide links, and he also sees his breadcrumb tail from Hansel and Gretel, how he got there, so he can go step by step back if there's something that he's interested and doesn't want to use the menu. Okay. So, and here we have two different ways of doing that. One with an ordered list and one with a navigation tag and anchor tags in it. And just for the one where you are at the moment, this is where you have then the span tag. So because where you are at the moment, you don't need an anchor tag to go there. So for the unordered list, let's add here a class of breadcrumb. So, and voila, we already have the nice bar there. And then for every list item, you have to add another class of breadcrumb item. And by default, you have the little spacing there and the slash, the forward slash, to have your separation. And the one where you actually are, you can actually put an active there too. And then you get the little different color. And if you do that to the navigation with the anchor tags, it works exactly the same way. And it looks exactly the same way. The fun part here is if you want to change the forward slash out, it's kind of easy to do that nowadays with the latest Bootstrap. So here I have a style nest prepared for us, where we then write our short little CSS. So we need to tackle the breadcrumb item class. Breadcrumb item. And a plus. Okay. And then we need also, without space, we continue breadcrumb item class again. And then the before. Okay. And whenever we have the before or after, we have to have a content. And this one, let's change that to that one. And voila, we have these ones up here. If we are really bad people, is it working here, Dreamweaver? No. It should. Even something fun. It should even work with emojis. So. Okay. Questions? Because that was all for you guys for today. It's a lot, but remember, if you go to Bootstrap, getbootstrap.com, you have all these explanations here again with code snippets and all of the stuff I told you is here. Okay, so if you run into any trouble, go back there, learn how to look stuff up, because you will not remember everything. It's impossible, and things change, and I have to look there all the time too, so don't worry.